I'm going to show you this US debt clock. We're going to talk about some problems, some major issues, some concerns. And some of you have seen this before. USDebtClock.org. These are real-time numbers. For example, US federal tax revenue, $4.6 trillion. And as you hover over these different boxes, it will bring up the definitions. So US federal tax revenue consists of the income tax, payroll tax, corporate tax, duties, excise tax, etc. One of the biggest issues, and we hear this on the news often, is the US national debt. The US national debt recently crossed over the $34 trillion line. That's T as in trillion. 34 trillion. And we are fast approaching 35 trillion. As a matter of fact, the US debt grows by millions, minute after minute after minute. How do we pay for $34 trillion of national debt? It's either reducing spending or increasing taxes. And look, since we've been talking, we just crossed another million and we're approaching even another million. But an even scarier number than 34 trillion is this number down here called US unfunded liabilities. This is $213 trillion that the US is on the hook for to pay in the future. First off, it's never going to happen. It's just mind-boggling, that amount of unfunded liabilities. But look at the definition. Total US unfunded liability includes Social Security, Medicare Parts A, B, and D, federal debt held by the public, plus federal employee and veterans benefits, and there are other things in there too. Unfunded liabilities. This is why you want to pay attention to potential future tax rates and how does US debt affect you in regards to this. But these are trillions and trillions of dollars. Okay, let's take a look at something else. What does $1 trillion look like? Okay, so we're showing here a $100 bill. The next slide we have here, these are $100 bills stacked up, and this is 10 grand. Next, it says, believe it or not, this next little pile is $1 million. 100 packets of 10 grand. That's what you see right here. It's $1 million. This pile of cash on the pallet, that's $100 million. Doesn't look like much. Next, we have $1 billion. So that's 10 pallets that you see there on the picture. And then we talk about $1 trillion. It's 1,000 billion or 1,000,000 million, a number followed by 12 zeros. There you go. There's $1 trillion. And there's the guy standing there that we were looking at with his million there on the ground. Trillion. And our country is almost 35 trillion in debt. Frontline did a story a few years ago called The Retirement Gamble. And I'm going to pull this up just to take a look at it. And I would encourage you to check this out, but it really painted a great picture of the gamble that people are taking when it comes to their retirement. And here, kind of this headline, The Retirement Gamble raises troubling questions about how America's financial institutions protect our retirement savings. Great program, wonderful information. And then the next one would be from Frontline called The Pension Gamble. I would encourage you to check it out. The Pension Gamble primarily is focusing on the state of Kentucky. Frontline investigates the role of state governments and Wall Street in driving America's public pensions into a multi-trillion-dollar hole. That's one of the reasons that I showed you that trillion-dollar example. America's public pensions are being driven into a multi-trillion-dollar hole. So that's a deficit. And so they go inside the volatile fight over pensions playing out in Kentucky, and they're examining what's happening for these broader consequences. And other states are having this problem too. It's not just Kentucky. But it's remarkable how these dollars get invested in the market, and then there's all kinds of trouble. Why? Because there are no guarantees. How about market problems, stock market problems in general? I'm just going to pull up a couple things here quickly. This is market problems, blame investors. Well, guess what? Investors blame financial institutions. This talks about how investors are following the crowd. There's panic buying, there's panic selling. And then it talks about we can't control everything. Well, that's a problem. If you don't have control, there are going to be some unintended consequences without control. What about 401k problems? This is a very popular investment tool. Ted Benna, the father or founder of the 401k, he's recently said that the 401k today is not being used as he intended, and that he created a monster, and that Wall Street is taking advantage of the 401k and has for the last 3 or 4 decades. Right? This is Kiplinger, their article, 3 401k problems that can shrink your returns. And notice the first one, rampant fees. Fees are increasing. A lot of these 401ks have a lot of hidden fees that you just don't know about. They legally don't have to be disclosed.